Grandmaster Chess videos. This is going to be my last video until after my tournament. I'll produce another video in a week from now, or so, sometime next week. A lot of time and effort goes into making these videos. I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not, but I want to take the next couple of days to prepare good for my tournament, review some information and things like that. In the meantime, I have another great practice game to show you. Now, what makes this game great, in my opinion, and of course I'm biased, not because I played superb chess, but because I am seeing clearer the imbalances. I'm seeing clearer the ways to take advantage of these imbalances, and I am seeing clearer the value, the ability to put tactics. More and more tactics are coming into my game as I practice the pursuit of my knowledge of Jeremy Silman's imbalances as well as tactical puzzles. I'm playing against a Dutch defense. Again, this is probably a 1353, a 1354 rated game. So it's not Grandmaster Chess, but it is improvement chess. Now the reason I like showing you guys my practice games, not only am I videoing my journey up into chess mastery, and I'm showing you what it takes to become a chess master. Lots of study, lots of practice, lots of frustration, lots of excitement and enthusiasm. As you learn, you improve your chess, you get better and better. You learn more openings, you learn more strategies, you get better. Is because if I can do this, you guys can. Right? This is the fun of it. Now I'm trying something. Silman says in his Reassess Your Chess 4th edition, as you practice chess, try out new things, learn some new things, experiment. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You can lose. You're going to lose thousands of games anyway. This is the odd thing about chess. You have to lose thousands of games before you start getting really good and winning thousands of games, and you have to play through thousands of master games. Well, that takes some effort. I'm on the queen-pawn opening, and as a general rule, because you're having more space as the imbalance, your queenside play is going to occur. Now, I'm not going against this. I'm just curious about something. Sometimes this knight can give you real trouble. He has fianchettoed his bishop. I'm wondering if there's a way, so I experiment with a rather ridiculous-looking pawn move. I basically give him the pawn, on whether I can change this so that I can do a little bit more on my king side as well. The Steinitz rule, chase the knight away. Take away the points of the knight. That knight can no longer come in, and this is his goal in the Dutch defense, see? That knight cannot come to the e4 or the g4 square, so I'm kind of happy about this. I'm saying, okay, well, the Steinitz rule certainly works, and then what do? I immediately take it away by pressing the pawn. I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, it was a goof. No, not really. What I'm going to do is I'm going to entice his pawn. I take this d-pawn. I've seen this in quite a few games now, where when you open with the queen-pawn opening, the c4 pawn, when they push their d-pawn, they're challenging this e4 square with that. The masters use that c-pawn to take that d-pawn. So far, I found it works very well. Well, it does entice his knight away, because I could see that what I'm going to do is I'm going to exchange the knights. We're going to exchange a couple of central pawns. We're going to exchange the knights. This knight is no longer on this side, which is one less piece for the kingside attack that can occur with the Dutch. And now his queen is centralized, but I have great central pawns, right? He's got a queen out and a bishop that's fianchettoed, but I've limited that bishop. So, at this point, I'm feeling okay. I bring out my knight. I'm going to look for that outpost, aren't I? Yeah, that's what knights want. He develops his knight. And why not? I'm experimenting here, right? I'm trying to find imbalances, make imbalances, work with imbalances. I know it's a corny looking thing to do because now I can't castle my king side, but my pawn structure is not going to be broken down. He is not coming after my pawn structure, so I don't need to worry about castling. The center, for all intents and purposes, is impassable. So grab the open file. This is good practice. Now, I practice this in my games a lot. You know, Silman emphasizes it, and I say, you know, the only way to see if this stuff works is put it in your games. Well, he's coming up the queen's side, right? I'm going to fianchetto my bishop. Notice what tactic I want to hopefully spring on him. Yet I know I'm not going to be able to, but it's a tactic nonetheless that's powerful to use. The discovered attack on his queen. Fianchettoing my bishop, my knight is in the front of my bishop, but I can move that knight and threaten his queen. If I move that knight in the right area, I can threaten two powers all at once, right? Well, he doesn't fall for that. I didn't expect him to, but the tactic is there nonetheless. You notice his queen is moving. I'm bringing out powers while his queen is dodging. A clue, like Sherlock Holmes told Watson, Watson, we have a clue. So, why not really do something extravagant here? Because no one's coming through the center, I'm safe to play on the wings at this point. Why not chase that queen all the way back and give myself a little bit more queenside space also? Nothing wrong with that because he's making lots of queen moves. Now protect my king from the queen dropping back down somewhere. Pull out another power. Why not? All he's doing is moving his queen. And he brings her back down to d3. Now when you have an opponent that does this, don't let this frustrate you. He's dancing all over with his queen. Don't let that frustrate you. Slowly develop and challenge his queen. Now, I have a wonderful open file that's going to give something a discovery up here sometime when I move that bishop. Why not grab the other open file? It's my imbalance to have. So why not? I'm not going to castle with this queen hanging out around here. So grab the open file. Aha. Another imbalance in my favor. Grab the open file and observe something, you guys. I have developed my entire army. He's left 3 home. And this knight isn't doing a lot. The best piece is his queen and bishop here. And he has absolutely very little central control. And what little he has, he's going to get rid of right now, because he takes the pawn. And I decide I'm going to jump on the center because I've got a better chance for having a knight on a decent outpost. And now he pulls up his pawn again to a5. When you have an opponent play like this, develop your army, because the more pieces you put out here, the better chance you'll have of finding tactics. So I'm ahead of him in development. I have a better central structure than he does, and I have open files that are very, very useful, and he has none. See how all the imbalances work? Now, it's bound to happen if you have a sharp enough eye, and I'm working on this, right? If you have a sharp enough eye, you can begin seeing some tactics. For right now, this isn't a tactic. This is just a bold, outright attack on my part. Use my file, it's my imbalance advantage, and attack that queen. She's virtually alone. Notice how many times this queen has been moving? She is moving absolutely all over the place. Now I drop my bishop back to take away this isle from the queen, and I open up my other open file. The queen is still having to move around, and it's at this point I notice something. one of the most useful, because it's the most common tactic. Where did it go? Hey. Yeah, that's it. I see weak spots here and here and here. The pawns are gone. The pawn is past this point. So I can post my bishop there, and it's permanent on the queen side. And it's pinning the knight to the king. He hasn't castled, and I don't need to. So I'm okay. Well, now his monster of a bishop comes and takes away that knight from that beautiful outpost, dagnabbit, but I suspected he would. I still have fantastic central presence. The only central presence he has is essentially, for all intents and purposes, is his queen, and that is soon to be nullified. No longer than I say that, then he comes, boink, right there, dead center. Hello, honey. Not for long, because I have another open file here. I'm going to use part of it, and I'm going to connect my rooks on the third rank, which is even stronger than the first rank, and I do believe my opponent catches the idea. Yes, get your bishops out, but notice something. Notice something. I have a surprise discovery on his queen if I want to swap queens, or better yet, use my rook and grab the other open file, right? The beauty of this direct attack is the discovery attack that this tactic makes. In one move, I do two things. Number one, again, I move his queen. Notice what I've been doing the last few moves? Silman says it's vital when you have an imbalance, nurture it. I have superior development, I have my open files, etc. But notice how I'm also trying very hard to make every one of my pieces better than my opponent's. My rooks are vastly superior to his. My bishop is sincerely stronger, pinning that knight. His bishop's virtually home. His rook is virtually at home. Every one of my pieces here are better than his. And I'm going to say that including the queen, because the queen cannot stay out in the field with so many bees swarming around her. She cannot stay put or find any significant power. She can come here and go, check, piece of cake. I put my bishop up here, and I nab another diagonal. I'm slowly moving up toward my opponent, aren't I? Have you noticed that? Queen comes over, check. A silly check. I've decided I've had it. I can't castle, so move my king out so that he can no longer harass me. And now he brings his rook up. And now I have this pinned knight to the king. He hasn't castled. And I'm attacking it twice on an open file. When you pin a piece, then attack it, and you'll win it. Here at the game is where I finally get a piece ahead, because I've used my tactic of the pin. Right? Bishop takes the knight, but of course, check. Bishop takes the bishop. And rook takes the bishop. I'm in great shape. I'm a power up. I have a fantastic open file. I have a sweet diagonal. I've got another file here. I've got a lane here. I'm feeling pretty good. He has to do something about it. He's a power down, but he forces the exchange. Yeah, he has to. He has to. That's the power, because I have better development. I'm able to put together that kind of a tactical combination, and I'm able to come out ahead of this. Now he takes my rook with the queen. At this point, I'm willing to swap him all the way down, because I'm going to be a power ahead in the end game, and it should be enough to beat him. I can see right now I'm going into an end game, and I see targets. I have the bishop. He's got a weakness here. Stop that weakness. Hold it back. He's got a target here. He's got a target here. These three aren't targets. Those aren't weak, but his queen side is completely horrible. I'm going to have a party over here on the queen side. I'm going to put the rook straight across the king to that central pawn, and now because of my tactics, because of my superior development, because of my combinations that I've been able to meld imbalances with tactics, I see another target that I can virtually force a win out of. Now I've got that pawn pinned, I can take that pawn. And he knows it, so he's going to push the pawn. I'm in an end game. I want to make sure my bishop is active. I want him to be on the right side of the board, and I want him to have targets. So the best place for my bishop is centralized outpost. That's beautiful. I have complete access to his side with my bishop. That's one of the most important parts of this game. You'll see the role that that plays. Now it's time to go into the end game and tighten everything up. So I begin tightening everything up. He comes back over to here because he's got his king guarding that pawn. It's obvious. He's got the open file, that's true. And he's going to come down here and try to check my king. I want to tighten things up. But first, I'm ahead, not in pawns, but I'm ahead, and his queen side is obliterated. I wouldn't mind swapping a couple more pawns on that queen side. I think I can break through to that queen side, right? Instead of taking the pawn, he defends his pawn that way. So, rather than exchanging at this point, I'm going to tighten everything up because I know his rook's on the way in, and his rook is on the way in. Check. King moves toward the rook as he checks me. That way he can't just keep perpetually checking me because I do not want to draw. So I do want to steadily move toward the rook. And now he zips over here to h4. Now at this point, I have targets. So I'm in an end game now, so I want to lock as many of the pieces on the color of my bishop, of his pieces, as I can, and that is why I pushed that pawn. I lock those two on the same color of my bishop. I have targets. I'm also closer to queening than he is. He takes my pawn. There's nothing I can do to save the pawn. There's no reason to worry about that side. I'm on the queen side, and now for the final tightening up of my position. Now I'm going to force it. Who gets a pawn in first? That's what this game's going to end up being. Check. You come toward the opponent. The rook, when he checks you, he's obviously going to keep going back and forth, so I'm going to go get my targets. At the same time, I'm going to protect this back pawn. And he comes zipping over here to threaten my bishop. Grab the open file. I eliminate one of my target pawns. Now I have a passed pawn. He comes up, check. I move back toward the rook because that way he can't perpetually check me all night long. I move back toward the rook in a zigzag so that I can threaten him, and he goes over to b3. Now it's time for me to grab my next target. I take the pawn. I'm eliminating his targets on the queen side. I have a passed pawn, and he knows it. Now he has a passed pawn, and the race is on. Except I'm a power up. So I'm going to swap the rook. And he does. I don't think that was correct on his part, but he swaps the rook. So I gladly swap the rook, and the race is on for the queen. I go here, he goes here, I go here, he goes here, I go here, queen, he goes here, queen. So, we've gone forward, and each one of us got a queen. I'm fortunate, because of course I looked before I went to queen, that I can carry on the initiative. I calculated that I would be the first one in. I have this extra bishop to guide me all the way to get this king. He goes to here, I go check. He goes to here, I go check. He goes to h7. I come back up here to f7. He goes to h6. And notice that his king is on the same row as his queen, the file. I mean, if I can get my queen behind that king, I win this game. Thanks to my superior development, thanks to my ability to use my open files, thanks to my ability to put together some tactics, because I had more chances of doing excellent combinations, I have an extra piece in the endgame, and here is where she earns her gold. Check. King comes up. Queen goes across. Check. King has to come over. I nab the queen, and he resigns. The thing I enjoyed about this game is the blend of the different imbalances that I was able to incorporate and use and improve. I was able, because I chased his queen all around, and you will have opponents that play this way. When you do, develop your pieces that attack the queen. Develop pawns like I did that give you extra space so that you can put more pieces out here, so that you can bring together more tactical pins and do various themes, coordinate your attacks, and you will improve your chess. If I can do this, man, you guys can do this. So that's your chess exercise for tonight. I will bring back more videos here in about 4 or 5 days. In the meantime, I've left plenty of videos. I just looked at the Idaho Chess Association's website, and I guess I've made 75 videos. I didn't realize I was being such a motor mouth, but I have about 75,000 more I hope to make in my lifetime, because there's that much to chess. There really is. So thank you, Jeff Rowland of the Idaho Chess Association. He's their webmaster. He is excellent at coordinating all of the chess materials, the chess events that's going on in Idaho and the western United States and the various regions. He attends several different chess tournaments, and he's showing some of the games from those tournaments. There's some excellent materials on the Idaho Chess Association website also. So go visit that if you get tired of watching my videos, and go visit that even if you're not tired of watching my videos. So I will see you in about 5, possibly 6 days or so. In the meantime, happy checkmating, happy chessercising, and get lots of sleep. And I will see you guys in about 5 or 6 days in the next chess video.